Okay, we're going to start with actually page 21. This was yesterday's lesson, but I want to teach you how to cross cancel. So we're going to take this problem and we're going to write it back down. Okay, 12 times 2/3. So when you are cross canceling, right, you're looking at one number in the numerator and one number in the denominator. So just like when you simplify a fraction, all right, so like when we go over here and we looked at one number in the numerator and one number in the denominator, and we decided to divide by 4. That 4 was a factor that went into both of them, and we got 3/10. So what we're doing now is we're cross canceling. We're going to simplify before we multiply. So we look at 12 and 3, okay, one number in the numerator, one number in the denominator, and we decide that 3 will go into both of them. It's a factor that if I'm counting by 3s, I will say 3 and I will say 12. I'm going to say 3 divided by 3 is 1. 12 divided by 3 is 4. And now I'm going to try to cancel 2 and 1. Well, 1 is as simple as it gets. So we cannot cancel. There's no factors that go into 2 and 1 except 1. And dividing by 1 does nothing. So we're finished now, and we're going to say tops times tops, bottoms times bottoms. And now 8 divided by 1 is 8, which got the same answer as this, except I had smaller numbers than this to divide and get my whole number. Okay, so let's go and let's look at the bottom right-hand corner of page 23. Okay, we're going to convert or change these to improper fractions, because that's what we have to do to multiply mixed numbers in a minute. So we're going to do what was called popcorn last year. All right, so 5 times 1 is 5. Plus 2 is 10, and then we're going to go ahead and write that same denominator. So, 5 times 1 is 5, plus 2, is 7. So we get 7, and the denominator stays the same, 7/5. So 7/5 is the improper fraction that's equal to 1 2/5. So let's do popcorn on this one. Okay, we're going to turn it into an improper fraction. 8 times 7 is 56. Plus 3 is 59, and we're going to use that same denominator. So 59/8. 9 times 4 is 36. 36 times plus 5 is 41, and then we're going to use that same denominator. So 41/9. So we've done this. It was on the test last week. We've done this in class quite a bit, but we're going to practice that before we get here. Okay, so we've done 3. Now let's go ahead and we want to multiply these. So we want to say tops times tops and bottoms times bottoms, but we can't because we have a whole number and we have a fraction. All right, we can't just ignore this and multiply the fractions and throw the whole numbers in later. Doesn't work like that. So we're going to go ahead and do popcorn. So 4 times 2 is 8. 8 plus 3 is 11. And we're going to keep the same denominator. So then we have 8 times 3 is 24, plus 1 is 25, and keep the same denominator. All right, so we can try to cross cancel here, but when we look at 4 and 25, they don't really share any factors beside 1. All right, we could try 2, but 2 won't go into 25. We could try 5, but 5 won't go into 4 evenly. So same thing with 8 and 11. The only factor that they share is 1. So it's as simple as we can get it. So when we multiply tops times tops, just like yesterday, and bottoms times bottoms, we're going to get 275. 4 times 8 is 32. Now this is an improper fraction. So this is not really how we talk. This is not how our brain works. We can't picture 275 30-seconds very easily in our head. So this line is going to mean to divide. So we're going to turn it back into a mixed number, and we're going to simplify it. So 32 goes into 2, none. 27, none. 275, 8 times. And when we subtract, we get 19 left over. So it's going to be 8 and 19 over 32. So 8 and 19 30-seconds. So what this says is I have 2 3/4 groups of this. Okay, that's what that means. So we're going to convert, which means change. the mixed numbers to improper fractions. It's what we did on that last example. So how did we do that? Well, we did popcorn. Okay, we popped them. And I think that's a 5th grade term because it looks like a kernel of popcorn once you draw it around it. So we're going to multiply the numerators together, just like yesterday. Change this to and the denominators. Okay. Now, before we multiply, okay, we're going to give it a try. We're going to try to simplify, which means cross cancel. All right, which means that's what we did on page 21 earlier. So we're going to try to cross cancel, which we did. We tried to cross cancel. We tried to simplify those numbers a little bit, but we couldn't on this one. And then we multiplied. And then we converted it back from an improper fraction to a mixed number. So we change it back to a mixed number. Okay, that's usually considered simplest form. And how do we do that? Well, we do it with division, just like we did here. All right, so let's do this example here. Okay, we're going to do popcorn. We're going to change it to an improper fraction. Same thing on this one. Change it to an improper fraction. Keep your same denominator. We can't cross cancel here or here because they're all prime numbers. Okay, so we have 25. 2 times 3, bottoms times bottoms is 6. And then we are going to divide 25 divided by 6 because it's improper. It goes 4 whole times, so we have 4 whole pizzas and 1 left over. So it's going to be 4 and 1/6. Okay, so let's look on the back. It says Uncle Ben's farm covers 12 1/3 acres. Of the 12 1/3 acres, 3/8 are planted with potatoes. How many acres of land does Uncle Ben grow potatoes on? So this is how much of this that he grows potatoes on. So this is just a little less than a half because half of 8 is 4. So he is planting potatoes on a little less than half of 12 1/3 acres. So remember, of in some questions means to multiply. Now this is already has a numerator and a denominator, a top and a bottom, so we don't really have to do anything to it. We don't have to popcorn because it doesn't have a whole number here. So we're going to go ahead and popcorn that one. Turn it into an improper fraction. So now we have tops times tops and bottoms times bottoms. Okay, so let's see if we can cross cancel or simplify. So 37's prime, 8 does not go into 37. It's not going to share a factor that I can find. I tried 2, it doesn't work. I tried 4, it doesn't work. 8 doesn't work. So now I'm going to focus on the 3 and the 3. It's great when they are the same number because that's the number that you divide by, that you simplify by. And when you can say 3 divided by 3 and get a 1, well, that's great because that's the simplest, easiest thing to multiply by. So 3 divided by 3 is 1. So now I do tops times tops, bottoms times bottoms, 8 times 1. And now I have some smaller numbers to divide by. So that's going to go 4 times. So 4 5/8, which is going to be D. Now remember, you can always pause this if I'm going too fast. So here, Jan rode her bike 3 4/5 miles last week. This week she rode 3 times as many. How many miles did she ride this week? So this is last week, and then I rode 3 times that much. Okay, so I have 3 groups of this. So remember, whole numbers you put over 1. I'm going to do my popcorn. That's 15 plus 4 is going to be 19. Keep my same denominator. I can try to cross cancel, but I can't. So I'm going to say tops times tops, bottoms times bottoms. And when I divide, 5 goes into 5 one time. 5 goes into 7 one time. And I have 11 2/5. But on your yellow sheet, remember, 2/5 is actually 0.4. So that's going to be equal to 11 4/10. Sorry, you can't see it very well. So let me show you, and we're going to mark through number 3. We're not going to do number 3. So let's look on our homework. Okay, so number 1. So we're going to do popcorn, and we're going to say 10 times 3 is 30, plus 3 is 33 tenths, times, we're going to do popcorn on this one, 9 times 3 is 27, plus 1 is 28, keep the same denominator. So when you get here, let's try to cross cancel because these are some very large numbers. So I'm going to focus on 33 and 9. So I want to ask myself on my green sheet, on my multiplication chart, where can I find 9 and 33? Well, I can find it on the 3 column. So they share a factor of 3. They can both be simplified or divided evenly by 3. So 9 divided by 3 is 3. 33 divided by 3 is 11. So now let's look at 10 and 28. They're both even, so I can divide by 2. I know that this is 4 times 7, but 4 and 7, they don't go into 10, so I'm just going to divide by 2. So 28 divided by 2 is 14. 10 divided by 2 is 5. And now I can say tops times tops, bottoms times bottoms, and I have a lot smaller numbers than I would have had I not simplified beforehand. Okay, so we can do this. I'd rather you do this division on the back, but it's going to get pretty messy if you try to do it on the front. 15 goes into 15 one time. 15 goes into 4 0 times. Remember, you always have to end your long division with a subtraction problem to make sure you've finished in your dividend. I'm sorry, in your quotient. So now it's 10 and 4/15. And you know you can't simplify 4/15 because you've already simplified before you multiplied over here.